Hey everyone, it's Types, and today we're going to be looking at a bunch of standard deck lists and looking at how rotation is going to affect them. If you don't know what rotation is, it's a thing that happens in Pokemon and some other games as well, where cards that have been in the format for a long time are removed from the format to keep it fresh and accessible to new players, and it's just an interesting phenomenon that changes the game quite a bit when it happens, sometimes more than others, but what we're going to be looking at here is a bunch of different deck lists, like 20 or so, that all are surviving rotation in the sense that they are all going to have like their main attacker playable post rotation. But we're not going to be looking at lists that are completely lost from rotation. So we're not going to be looking at Eternus, Vikavolt, or any deck that plays the Inteleon engine. But we're going to be looking at, you'll see the deck list, and we're pretty much covering all the decks, except for, keep in mind, this is at the same time, essentially, as the new set Scarlet and Violet is being released, so we're not going to be talking about new archetypes from that set. Although I will mention replacements from that new set. So if there's a card that we're losing, for example, we're losing Quick Ball, I'm going to mention Nest Ball pretty much provides the same value in the list. So that's something to keep in mind. But let's just look at some lists here. First of all, this is Lugia with Archeops. And also, sorry for it being a bit small. This is the best way I found. And this is using the Lumos website, of course, which is a great resource for Pokemon players and just shows deck list cards and all that cool stuff. But it's not perfect, certainly. But this Lugia Archeops list here. So pretty much what the goal of this deck is to use Lugia V-Star, get Archeops into play, and then accelerate a bunch of special energy. And of course, there are two things that you're looking at losing in this list. Although, of course, something like Quick Ball, losing discard power is a bit annoying, but really what you're really hating losing here is some of the attackers and some of the special energy. So we're going to be losing all the amazing rares, so that would be Yveltal and Raikou in this list. These are the two amazing rares that see the most play. And losing those kind of hurts. And then also very importantly, some of the special energy. Notably, we're losing all the unique color types, such as powerful colorless energy, heat fire energy, and speed lightning energy played in this list. But then more importantly, capture energy is not great to be losing, but also Aurora energy, very important in this list, as well as one or two others. There's a slight Aurora energy style card that's being reprinted, except not. I don't think it's in the next set, and it's also not as good. But for this, of course, the big loss is that Aurora energy with the amazing rares. So you're going to be trying to focus on some different attackers. Many people have said Single Strike, which replaces powerful energy, allowing you to hit big damage. So you probably play Single Strike energy, possibly some other types like Fusion Strike, Rapid Strike with Deoxys. People have said that's a valid option, but also stuff like Umbreon VMAX, Gengar VMAX, Single Strike Urshifu VMAX, all good Single Strike attackers paired with Single Strike energy, which can be recovered as well. So overall, that's not too bad of a loss. The deck's going to be forced to change up a bit and be a bit less versatile, but it'll still be very strong and very potent post-rotation. But it will be hit some in a very notable amount, so keep that in mind if you want to play Lugia post-rotation. You do have options still like Stoutland, Radiant Charizard, except something like specifically Stoutland. It's going to get worse with the loss of powerful colorless energy. And then V-Guard energy is also getting worse with the addition of EXs. So, it's not in a great spot because you're losing a solid chunk of things, but the deck will still work. You just need to change up quite a few things. Also in this list, specifically, we're losing a Rangaroo. So a substitute for that. You don't necessarily need to substitute for that. It's not a crucial card, but it's just something to note that you're losing as well. Moving on to the next list here, though, which is going to be Mew VMAX, another very solid and very staple list to the format. This is not losing too much, to be honest. The main thing we're losing here, I guess, would be Quick Ball, losing that discard power, but not too bad. Really, this list is not suffering many losses at all. We see Big Parasol will be rotating from this list. That's about it. Pretty much, you just want to play good old Mew VMAX. Play it the same way you always did. There are some new inclusions you could add, but nothing you need. The deck is pretty much staying the same. You have all the same options. It's going to be very powerful, very potent, and a deck that you certainly want to pick up now. I'd recommend if you want to have a deck that's good pre and post rotation, and Mew VMAX is definitely going to be that deck, losing almost nothing here, which is pretty crazy. Next, we have Kyurem Palkia. I want to make sure, we didn't skip a list. The computer was flickering a little there. I was a bit nervous about that. But yeah, Kyurem Palkia here. So Palkia often is paired with Inteleon, and then you're going to lose that. So that's a big deal. And that means that you're the engine is now going to be much weaker. So that list where I'm not going to even take a look at because it doesn't matter. You can't play it. But then you can play Palkia paired with most powerfully probably Kyurem VMAX here. Now, a big issue is you don't have the Rodon Phone or the Oranguru to be able to stack energies on top of your deck, and that's going to be a big issue. So you're looking at something like Swap Cups or Expedition Uniform, both of which are pretty weak. You could just play Palkia as a good attacker, pair it with, I'm not even sure. Some people like to pair it with Vikavolt. You can't do that anymore, but you could pair it with something like Raikou V and go for a pretty Turbo Melanie style build, which is still very solid with trekking shoes. You're keeping a lot of the pieces in this deck, but of course you're going to be losing that Oranguru, which is really bad for this build, the Inteleons, which invalidates the other build. So you just want to pair Palkia with probably some very solid beatdown style attacker. It's just a good Pokemon to have, and so I think it just has good value, but you just need to be careful. Radiant Greninja is still good. You could pair with Ice Rider still as well, so just play how you want, but obviously you can't play that Inteleon, and you may want to stray away from Kyurem if you're not able to power that up with the loss of Oranguru. So this deck is definitely being hit a bunch, but it's not being deleted completely. Either you lose Training Core as well, which isn't great, and Capacious Bucket, but the deck will still work okay, certainly. Now we're looking at a few Arceus lists. This is an Arceus Dralodon list. The list I pulled up actually plays Flying Pikachu. It's just the first one that came up a lot. Usually they don't play Flying Pikachu, but still the same idea. And what you're losing, which isn't actually in this list, but the Metal Duraludon V, which I'd say is better, as well as the Metal Saucers. They provide a bit of a different style of list here, but this list is in playing them. But now you can't play them at all. And also, you're losing Training Court. To be honest, the list isn't losing too much, though we see Pokegear played in this style of list, but you don't have to play that, so it's up to you, but it's not losing too much. The big issue, of course, is will Special Energy be good? Because Dralodon's the counter Special Energy, but that's up to you. Arceus itself, though, is going to remain very strong, and we also have another Arceus list here, and straight up Arceus Flying Pikachu with a Alolan Vulpix V-Star style list. And there are quite a few things to look at about this list. You're losing Piers, which sometimes he's playing. It's like instead of the Inteleon engine, you play Piers, then you have some different options. Or you could even play Piers in the Inteleon engine. Of course, you're also losing Crobat V and Crobat V Max, which this list would sometimes attack with. But luckily now you have Drapion V, which fulfills pretty much the same purpose. So this list isn't losing too much. It's losing bits and pieces here or there. But you have a lot of adaptability. Also, you can still have pretty much all the fighting attackers you want, such as necessarily Disinjoy V-Star or that very powerful Aerodactyl V-Star, which some people are sleeping on, but still a very good card. So you're going to have those options, and realistically, Arceus will be very good. You're going to be losing Inteleon Engine, but most people aren't playing that. You can play Barrel Engine. You probably want to play that. Possibly drop Lumineon, because you're going to have to get rid of Crobat. You don't need Pumpkaboo now. So just having some different options, and that's very powerful. And this list is just very solid. Not losing too many important pieces. Of course, Marnie we're losing, but that'll be replaced by Judge with pretty much every list. Not a big deal. So yeah, Arceus is surviving. It's not hating its life, but you're not losing too many partners either. So overall, it feels pretty good. Now looking at just another solid deck, which we don't see too much now actually, but it's a Hisuian Zoroark Restart. Is this losing stuff? I mean, it's losing Crobat, it's losing Oranguru, it's losing Eldegoss, but these are just tech options. All in all, the deck's pretty good still. Also losing Evo Instance is kind of bad. But the deck's still going to be viable. It's not losing anything horrible for it. So you can still play this deck. Sorry, I'm quite tired. I've been doing a lot today, but still want to look at post rotation because it's a big deal. But yeah, you're not losing too many pieces here. It's still a very solid deck. And yeah, you can just play it. Nothing too much to say about this list. Again, the biggest loss is probably Evo Incense and Crobat, slowing you down just a little, but then you probably stick in the Diancie into this list, which sees some play and it has some value as well. And then possibly the Baby Mew as well. This next list, a bit of a deck that's fallen off a little, but I know some people who are really big fans of this. Blissey V with Miltank. Is this going to be good? Well, Miltank's going to fall off and possibly Yveltal as well due to the new meta shift, but that's not a big deal in terms of how good the base deck is. It's still the same deck. You're losing Hyper Potion, Powerful Energy, Capture Energy. So those are not great losses. But you still have the main attackers. So This list is okay. It's not like an amazing spot. Notably, Hyper Potion is a big loss, and Cape of Toughness is a big loss. I think this list will struggle because it'll lose most of its tank ability. It won't be bad. You're also losing the Psychic type healing card, Suspicious Food Tin, I believe. I think that's the name of it. That allows you to heal off in addition to Hyper Potion. So you don't have that option. But overall, I think the list is still pretty solid. But if you're getting one shot, it's bad. So it's up to you. I don't think it's going to be particularly amazing losing both Cape and Hyper Potion, but I think Blissey will still find some value in some decks. And then you also, actually no, we're still going to have Crushing Hammer. Now, this next list, we have a bunch of Lost Zone lists. This is a Giratina Lost Zone list, and if you've been looking at Japanese meta at all, you'll know that Lost Zone is the best deck in format. It's absurd. There are a lot of different builds of Lost Zone, but Lost Zone is the best. So we're going to be looking at a bunch of Lost Zone lists here. Of course, pre-rotation, you'll be losing Quick Ball, but that's not a huge loss. But then the really big loss here is Scoop Up Net, and this is the biggest loss for this deck. Really, everything else you can kind of ignore. You're losing Air Balloon as well, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. Pretty much you're going to be playing lots of Switch now and Switch card to be able to switch more, meaning that you're going to clog up your board a bit more. With Comfeys in the early game, you're also losing Ordinary Rod, I believe, which isn't great for this deck either. I mean, Ordinary Rod is great for this deck. Losing it is not great. So, the deck's facing some losses, but it's still going to be very strong. You have most of your tools available to you, so you don't need to worry too much. Losing Ordinary Rod isn't that bad because you still have Energy Recycler. You still have all your attackers, so it's very good. You're losing any amazing rares. I realize I have a deck on this list that probably shouldn't be here. That is, this list right here. We have a few more Lost Zone lists, though, but this list is an amazing rare Lost Zone list. Don't play this. You can still play techs like a Raikou, though, and Radiant Greninja is going to be very good. So this is like a teched out deck, but you can't play Rayquaza Amazing Rare and Raikou Amazing Rare. I forgot they were rotating. I mean, I knew they were rotating, but I forgot they were on this list. So yeah, don't play this. This is not valid. You can still use other Lost Zone, and I'll skip this one to other Lost Zone decks. This is the non-Mirage Gate. I'll look at the Mirage Gate one here, I guess. Which is the same idea as similar idea as the Amazing Rares, except now you have stuff like Ice Cube, Kyogre, and Snorlax, and Radiant Greninja as attackers instead of those Amazing Rares. So a bit of a different idea here, but still all very potent attackers. This deck's amazingly good. And is this a metal build? This is not, no. So you could also play the Zamazenta, the metal Zamazenta, very good. The basic from Ground Zenith. And there are some other attacking options as well. And quite frankly, Lost Zone has so many options still. It's not losing much except for Scoop Up Net and then those Amazing Rares. And Rod. This list plays 2 Rod. So that's a bit unfortunate for this list. But all in all, it's still, as I said, very strong. And you still have tons of options. You can play you can't play Birdkeeper. You're losing that. I don't think Birdkeeper provides a lot of value. But yeah, you can't use that anymore. But all in all, this deck's still very strong. And then here's the other non-Mirage Gate list. I'm not losing much of anything. I'm trying to look and see what you're losing here. You're losing Capture Energy, but not a big deal. One Poke here. And of course, there's Scoop Up Nets. Scoop Up Nets are a bad loss. Now you need to play more Switch cards. Switch Escape Rope, Air Balloon. Or no, you're losing Air Balloon as well. But that's not that big of a deal because you still have Switch Card Rope Switch. So, and they're better than Air Balloon, as well as Cross Switcher appearing in this list. And then also Choice Bell, you'll probably replace with, I want to say it's Hustle Band. I don't know. But there's a new card that's somewhat similar to Choice Bell that allows you to do more damage if you're down on prizes. All in all, just a very good card. But really, this whole list is surviving rotation, except for a few of those switching options. Most notably that Scoop Up Net. But all in all, this list is still very good. Also, it's the BDIF, I think, undoubtedly. So just play Lost Zone if you want a good deck that's still going to be interesting and survive rotation. Play Lost Zone. It's very good. Now we're looking at Reggie's. The deck I kept looking on to see if it was another Lost Zone list. It is not another Lost Zone list. This is a list that some people think will be dead. I don't think it'll be quite dead, but it relies on Regigigas accelerating energy. Generally, people accelerate special energy. You can still accelerate basic energy, though, which feels bad, but you use Regigigas to get all the Regis into play, accelerate a bunch of energy to the various Regis. And then this deck's quite awkward to play. And it's going to be even more awkward when you don't have Aurora Energy or Capture Energy or Twin Energy or Speed Energy. But Gift Energy is still very potent. And then, of course, you have those basic energies to fulfill your attack cost. And then there's the new Special Energy I alluded to earlier. I don't think that's coming out immediately, though. But I feel like it deserves a mention. But it does not cover Aurora Energy in any means. It just is a little bit of a buff to the deck, but all in all, you're losing a lot in this list. But you can hang on a little bit. Just need to kind of cross your fingers a little bit here, because it's kind of sketchy. Losing Ordinary Rod as well is pretty bad for you, but there's a new supporter that kind of covers that. But it's sketchy. But I think Reggie's has a little bit of life left in it. If you want to play Reggie's, though, I'd recommend you play it now before rotation. It's not the most interesting deck, though, so luckily rotation isn't killing too much. It's just killing like Wheezy and Vikavolt, so happy to see that go. But yeah, Reggie's not great post-rotation. Probably one of the decks that get hit the most here. And now we're also looking at Zoroark, a really interesting deck that relies on the various stage 1 attackers and techs. Generally, this is right before rotation, this is the best Zoroark will be. Actually, I'm not very familiar with this list. I don't know what I think that would be a spread. I'm not sure. I haven't actually played with that Weavile, but I've played with other cards, and it's a very strong list. You're not losing much of anything. Notably, you are going to be losing Twin Energy. Losing Twin Energy is kind of bad for this list, and also bad for Reggie's and some other lists, but mostly this list. Twin Energy really is important, and there's another list that we'll talk about as well that kind of wants Twin Energy, but what we're looking at here is really going to be losing Quick Ball, which is bad, and you're also going to be losing that Twin, which stops certain powerful combos. Not in this list. I guess Braixen, you'll be losing that. Then that'll be like reduced damage because you have to use double turbo. And all in all, having to use double turbo is not great, but it's not too bad. You're not losing much. Zoroark will surprisingly still be very viable. One of the other issues actually is that it's praised on Pokemon V, and those will be going away. But overall, it's still very strong. Now we're going to be looking at some control lists. The first one here is a single prize Ditto Box style control. And this is one of my favorite decks right now. If you know me, you know I like control. And so this one has a few interesting aspects. As I said, we're losing Twin Energy. That's really bad for this deck. You're also losing Galar Mine. That's probably the biggest loss, and is one of the biggest losses of the rotation here. And also you're losing stuff like Yell, Horn, and these like disruption tools. Control is often really good right before rotation. That's true now, of course, as well. You still have a bunch of options, but you're losing more Pico, you're losing Sandile, you're losing Starly, you're losing Birdkeeper, you're losing Chinchina, you're losing Snorlax, you're losing what else? You're losing that's about it, but that's still like a lot, right? That looks like it's the whole deck, but really you have tons of other options. You still have the Miltank, which is good, and the Yveltal, which is really important. You have Regieleki, Jinx, Ice Cube, all those are staying. And you also have some other tools that provide similar value, such as instead of Starly, you can play Calyrex. Right? People are already playing Calyrex, and it's pretty solid. Sandile is not necessary. More Pico is a bit of an annoying loss. And then also some Capture Energy, like your consistency is going to be reduced. So what do you play instead of Snorlax? There are a few options. You are also losing Zacian V, which isn't great. So you're looking at possibly Jubilife Village as providing solid value, especially now that your stadium slot's empty. And then you're also going to be looking at stuff like, of course, something like Rotom V fills that slot reasonably nicely. Something like Sylveon V also provides a bit of value, or Zamazenta V. But of course, Rotom V just being very good here. And then the Chinchina line's just going to be replaced by probably a Ralts Curly line, possibly with a Gallade thrown in there, being very potent as well. Debatably better than the Chinchina line, so you got all those solid options. The deck's not dead by any means. It still has enough pieces to get going. It'll just struggle a little bit more, losing a few of those part pieces, notably Snorlax and Galar Mine, which are just so important to the deck. But you can get by without them. You just need to play a bit more accurately. There's actually a replacement for Galar Mine, kind of. There's a stage 1 that increases, I believe, retreat cost or something like that. It's an EX. It's kind of weird. I think it's the Spite Ops or whatever it's called. But you can increase the retreat cost that way, so it's not a big deal. And then, as I said, replacement for Snorlax, you can kind of look around. Nothing as good, but still there are some options. And this is another pretty similar list, but this one plays I guess, the quote-unquote lightning package. So you see the speed lightning energy. You'll be losing that as well from this list, and the Bird Keeper's Starly package. Yeah, this list is very similar to how I look at it, but yeah, you're losing all those same things I said before, Gallarmine, Snorlax. Scuba Net also seeing play in this list, and Big Parasol, pretty solid. Cape, you're losing, but that's not a huge deal. This does have the Eldegoss loop, though, which you're losing completely. So you can't do Flying Pikachu or Togekiss Eldegoss loops. You're losing Togekiss as well, although that's not amazing, but you can't Umbreon Eldegoss loop. You're losing all these options. The deck's still going to be very solid, though, as I said, but it'll be built a bit more like that Ditto list, as I showed before. And then last but certainly not least is going to be this Mewtwo V-Union Yveltal Miltank deck. And the main idea here, of course, is just to either send the Mewtwo V-Union to wall, Yveltal to remove all their special energy, or Miltank to, again, wall in a slightly different fashion. You still have Peonia, which is the most important piece, and of course the main attacker, Mewtwo V-Union, Yveltal, and Miltank. You're losing Twin Energy, can be replaced by Double Turbo. It's not a huge deal. And then you still have Echoing Horn. Losing Gallarmine is kind of bad, but Gallarmine isn't necessarily the win condition in this deck. You still have Misfortune Sisters. You still have Cook. You still have most of your disruption elements. As I said, losing Snorlax is also bad. This list doesn't play Glare and Meowth, but that's a huge loss as well. So you're going to be, as I said, looking for various other ways to set up. And of course, losing the ability to discard consistently with Quick Ball hurts a bit as well. So I'm not exactly sure. You could be looking towards the Gardevoir late engine, though, very potent and very powerful there. But yeah, I'm interested in hearing what your thoughts are on rotation, what you think is and isn't going to stay viable. I do think most decks are going to be still very viable, which is surprising. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon, especially these past few years, and I've been surprised when rotation hits. It doesn't actually take out too many decks, especially this time. It feels like there aren't too many decks being lost, which is surprising because Pokemon like Zacian and Dragapult Eterna seemed so influential at that time, but really there are only a few decks that are losing, and then a bunch of engine pieces which are relatively replaceable. So that's pretty neat. I'm happy the rotation isn't like severely hurting the game. It looks like it's going to be really healthy, especially bringing in this new era of Scarlet and Violet cards. I'm really excited, especially seeing the format being a bit bigger is really nice. But I hope you enjoyed. I'm certainly excited for this. And as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.